I bet that love is partial to your side. Somehow I do believe that you are mine. Prove me in a natural way.
Yes.
Things I thought that never say.
Steadily.
Drinking and getting high on wine.
We're coming back steadily. Not 100% yet, but we're coming back steadily. Welcome to the Blacknificent Show here on the Galaxy of the We.net.
In my mind, just love to keep you in my mind. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh yeah. Your face is so mysteriously kind. I bet you love it partial to your side. Somehow I do believe that you are mine. Prove me in a natural way. Things I thought I'd never say. Drinking and getting high on wine. Waiting to love you all the time. Just love to keep you in my mind. Just love to keep you in my mind. Yeah, 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 yeah. All right. Gotta keep you ready. Yeah, yeah. Now, 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 now. Ooh, yeah, 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 yes. Keep you ready.
Yes, welcome to the Blacknificent Show here on the Galaxy of the We.net. Beautiful, beautiful vibrations that we are bringing to each and every one of us here on the Galaxy of the We.net. In all truth and honesty, we bring to you the purity of life itself. The purity of life itself. Not sure. You have to forgive me that my voice is not 100% this morning. Um, yes, I had a bit of the flu. I'm still recovering, but the high temperatures and the shivering and things have subsided. So I'm coming in to do what I can do this morning for you on the Galaxy of We.net here on right here live in the studio. Lines are open. I'm going to open them up early, right, so that everyone can come in it early today. Okay, so it's 0203 That's the lines to come directly to the studio if you wish to come and talk to us directly, right? If you wish to use the text or the WhatsApp, those lines are open as well on 07947 You can come in and do that one as well. If you wish to view us, you are on the Facebook, on the Blacknificent Radio Show. You can sign into your Facebook and you can view us on there. Okay. And also on the YouTube as well. Okay. So you can join us in any way you wish to. Okay. And I'm now so that we can receive messages directly through there as well. So anytime you want to come in on it, you can be in it too. Right. This one here, this one here, I have to say, it was one of those things that it's one of those tunes that I just love to hear. As I was doing some research, this one just popped up, and I thought, wow, and it just got me back into reminiscing back in the day, back in the day. So I just would like to just share this one with you. Sunny, sunny.
Sunny, yesterday my life was filled with rain. Sunny, you smiled at me and really eased the pain. Now the dark days are gone, the bright days are here. My sunny one shines so sincere, and sunny one so true. I love you, sunny. Thank you for the sunshine bouquet, sunny. Thank you for the love you brought my way. You gave to me your all in all, and now I feel 10 feet tall. And sunny one so true, I love you. And sunny, thank you for the truth you've let me see. And sunny, thank you for the facts from A to Z. My life was torn like windblown sand. Then a rock was born when we held hands. And sunny one so true, I love you. Sunny, thank you for that smile upon your face. I said, sunny, thank you for that gleam that flows with grace. You're my spark of nature's fire. You're my sweet, complete desire. Sunny one so true, I love you. Sunny, yesterday my life was filled with rain. I said, sunny, smiled at me and really eased the pain. Now the dark days are gone, the bright days are here. My sunny one shines so sincere, and sunny one so true, I love you. Oh, and sunny, thank you for the truth you've let me see. I said, sunny, thank you for the facts from A to Z. You know my life was torn like a windblown sand, and a rock was formed when we held hands. And sunny one so true, I do, I do, I do. I love you, I love sunny. Yesterday my life was filled with rain. I said, sunny, you smiled at me and really eased the pain. Now the dark days are gone, the bright days are here. You know my sunny one shines so sincere, and sunny one so true. Oh, sunny one so true, sunny one so true. I love you, I love you, I love you, sunny. Yes, I do.
Yes,
I love
one of those, one of those classics.
Sometimes when you're feeling kind of good
If
inside,
you know where you are.
your feet are kind of rocking,
Love it, love it, love it, love it. Dig. Bless as I was to come through that time. Grand risings, brother Sean. Grand risings.
Greg Rising, Blacknificent. That tune is how I feel right now.
Ah,
Pick you up. Seriously, just want to big you up for that. It's very fitting to how I'm feeling. My mother's arrived, so I'm
Oh,
feeling good.
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Yes, day before yesterday, so I'm happy. My brother yesterday, so I'm just happy. Bless her.
Yeah, man.
Sunny. I'm feeling sunny. And it was a sunny day yesterday, Jamaica. I ain't gonna lie, it was hot on my way to Kingston yesterday. I'm in country, so I have to drive to Kingston. It's about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And where I'm at, it's cooler. It was hot, don't get me wrong, but it's just cooler.
Yeah.
Like a little breeze to go into Kingston.
I'm familiar with that area there because we have some property down there, so in a place called Knott's Patrick.
I'm not familiar with that. Sorry.
Yeah. It's just outside Mandeville, just on the outskirts of Mandeville.
Okay. There's a place that I ain't explored. Don't get me wrong. I'm not familiar with everywhere, but yeah. Cool. Okay, I'm gonna look out for it because they're staying in Mandeville. My mother and I'm about 20 minutes away from Mandeville.
Okay.
Where am I?
Probably about the same distance we are there.
Yeah. So I'll look out for that. What's it called?
Knott's Patrick.
Knott's Patrick.
You know that. Remember that series called Knott's Landing.
Yes.
Yeah, that's how I associate.
That's the reference, not Patrick. Okay, I'll look out for that. I'll look out for that.
That's Patrick. Yeah,
see, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, man.
Excellent, man.
Yes. I'm hoping to get out there sometime this year.
Well, I'm going to bring up unity. Can we start a debate? Not debate.
Yeah. We can talk the talk, man.
Yes. Let's reason Blacknificent. It's so funny. I see my mother for over 11 months.
Wow.
She's back now.
Yeah.
And bless her. My mum is a staunch Christian. She's a typical Jamaican woman. Typical Jamaican Christian.
Yeah.
And when I mean typical, I'm talking about the type of Christian who every word out their mouth is about Jesus and God.
That's right.
They got no evidence. They got no form of they got no fact, no evidence that they're staunch in the Bible. And it's really interesting because I always say to my mum, I always make joke with my mum, bless her. I feel for her. But I always say, Mummy, how comes, Mummy? I call her Mummy. Big as I am, I still call her Mummy.
Yeah.
I said, Mummy, how comes? It seems like non-Christians know more about Christianity than Christians. And when I talk about that, I'm talking about people like ourselves, the Pan-Africanists. We reason, we debate, we're constantly, we can't leave it alone because it's just fascinating anyway. And it's just because of our connection, because of our parents and how the religion busts up in our blinkered eye. You get me? Busts up the community. You know what I mean? It's terrible to certain degrees. I stress that. And she just obviously, bless her. I don't ask her them questions I'm gonna get an answer. I don't like to provoke her for. I do a lot of things to my mom to make her think, and I have made my mom think a lot. Sometimes I don't mean to be bad, but she's constant.
No. You know what it is, right? It's that when you see a way, right? It's like you know what I love to see. You know when a young child, right? A young child comes into realization and understanding, and then all of a sudden they know everything, right? They know everything about everything, and then they're gonna come and tell you, big person, right? How things go, yeah. And the thing is that some parents will look on us exactly the same way, right? But the thing is that what happens? Right? It's like very, very similar. My mother and father, they were brought up with Christianity being the mainstay of their thoughts and training. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Both my grandparents or grandfathers, they were lay preachers. Right? So in other words, them go on like them a deacon and pastor and everything, right? And then they would just stand up there and start talk and preach about Bible, right? You understand? And they had their own congregation and everything else. You understand? So in many ways, they, my parents were doctrinated into that line of thinking. Okay. So obviously now we as a generation who has not born into it and oppressed by how it must have been, well, boy, you're the preacher's son and daughter. So everybody's expectations, you understand? And then when we come along with our stand aside and see what really are going, yes, sir. Right?
True.
Right? And then we're telling them, but wait, you don't see how this man are gone, that woman are gone. And then you look into their teachings, right?
Yes.
And you say, this thing was just meant for that, they grab one piece here, grab one piece there, one piece here, and then they mix and blend it up. Right?
Right. Yeah.
You understand? But they won't be accepting of that because that is what
it's like the word, that it's one thing that's been it's been on my mind of recent, and I use it a lot. It's a phrase called the gospel.
Yes.
So when you want to refer to something as its fact, you say it's the gospel. It's the gospel.
The truth is the truth.
It's fascinating because that is ingrained. Like it's so like I always use this. Like, I understand. I love the what's it called? Galaxies, the de-brainwashing station.
Yeah.
I love that. When I first said I hold on to that so much because to me that resonates with me to the max. I overstand that to the maximum. The de-brainwashing. You understand? So when they call about the gospel, this is a classic. Let me rephrase this in my blinkered eye interpretation of de-brainwashing. Now, the gospel, as in. I'm so used to using that phrase as in when I want to re-emphasize something I'm talking is fact, I will use the word, it's the gospel. And it just shows you the doctrine as in even somebody like me, you understand? I overstand even though I'm still I'm reasoning, I'm searching for the truth. I've got these things on me same way, like the language, like I use English and whatever. I haven't learnt my new language yet, which it's in my things to do thing, you get me? But the doctrine, what you said, but it's really interesting because it makes you realize how special man like Marcus Garvey was. When you realize, because I think about Marcus Garvey a lot, and I always think about if he didn't die when he died, would he still have been a Christian? If he could have lived to study, because I don't think so. In my humble blinkered eye opinion, I don't think he would have been Christian because he was going towards Africa. And when you go towards Africa on the search, if he would have reached Africa,
I was about to say that too. Yeah. Because if he actually went and spent time in Africa, right? I feel that his philosophies would have been totally blown out the water, right?
There is no way.
In a way,
right? Blacknificent. There was no way. The powers that the people then would have let him get there. There would no way. What's his name? My brother's name? FBI
Hoover,
brother.
not Hoover, isn't it? What's his name again now? Is it Hoover? Isn't it? The American one, isn't it? J. Edgar Hoover.
Yeah, Hoover. There was no way. Are you mad? If he would have got to, do you see what Bob Marley just with it and reggae what they done to Africa? Let alone, and are you mad? Can you imagine if Marcus Garvey got to Africa during especially at the time period is it would have been militant because Africa wasn't so doctrinated in times there. So if he would have got to Africa them times there, oh my, are you mad? Oh please, oh my days, they could not.
One of the things, my brother, that Marcus Garvey, right, was the motivator of liberated thought, just like the de-brainwashing station of like Galaxy.
Oh my days.
Right?
Yeah.
He was able to galvanize the thoughts and the actions of those who were totally oppressed. Right? And remember, the majority of people were totally oppressed. Remember the ones who were fighting against him, the blacks that were fighting against him? Those were the ones who were able to afford to go to universities and get a further education.
I don't want to. I'm not trying to create dividing, but when you go into history and you hear about the secret societies of the mulattoes and whatever, it gets a bit murky and confusing sometimes. The bourgeoisie they were against, from when I did my research.
Yeah.
Against.
I mean,
Marcus Garvey.
facts are facts, my brother. Facts are facts. Facts are facts, right? So obviously, he gave a voice for the massive, underrated, and oppressed people, right? And in him giving the voice to those who were underrated and oppressed people, it disturbed the status quo. It disturbed it, right? Because all of a sudden, everybody was invigorated to do for themselves, to actually let me learn how to read, to educate myself so that I can liberate myself, right?
Oh my days.
You
And that's a
understand?
threat.
Right? Not just be a subservient part of a system that is not going to be doing anything. Yeah, right? Work, get up, go to work, come back home, go to bed. You understand? Right? Everybody all of a sudden had that impetus to move. Yeah? Right? So when you saw a movement like that, right? All of a sudden, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Right? And that is what that was the biggest fear. Unfortunately to say that many of us, right, are taking it for granted, right, that we are living in our bubble of I'm okay, at least I got food on my table and all them things there, and not realizing that you're still being oppressed. Right? You're still being held down. You're still being held back. Right? Full, where people are there and they're saying, oh, you are the ones who are supposed to be doing what? And then they say, no, we take care of that. You just continue over there and do what you're doing. The God aspect. Let me just turn back to the God aspect, right? Or religious aspects. Obviously, over years and years of disenfranchisement from the African continent, we have been able to, right, spread the word and spread the doctrines of the African teachings, right, to the extent of where some of the people of Africa have forgotten about the teachings, right, to where other places have adopted and developed them for their needs, i.e. South America, right, i.e. some parts of China, yeah, i.e. some parts of what's the other place I was looking at the other day? South America. It was South America, anyhow, right? But even in the fact of that, right, we know say that the powers that we had and we are able to still tap into still exist even to today, and they fear that. They fear that, right? You understand? And I'm not saying we should all go back and do this and do that, but just be aware that there are powers out there that do protect us as Black people.
True.
Right?
No, you're right. I agree. I agree with that.
And then, like, obviously, combine. And the thing is that most of the religious aspect as we have it, right? Remember, because they didn't even want us to read or write in some places, right? They didn't want us to read or write or even to educate ourselves. Yeah? And in doing that, they cut off one of our biggest developments ever for us as Black people. They also did not want us to practice our communication, right, through the vibrations of sound, right, and even singing. They didn't want that either, right? One thing that popped up the other day. One thing that popped up the other day was on the pianos. I don't know if you know this, but pianos. They didn't want us to play the piano, and then when they did allow us to play the pianos, we were only allowed to play the black keys.
Yeah, I've heard of that. I have heard.
You understand? So even with that, they would not even allow us to even express ourselves.
The chords, like the chords. You only could play chords.
Yeah.
The chords. I've heard something like that. Yeah. I've heard something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You understand? So they wouldn't even allow that. Yeah.
Gosh.
Right. But now we have the opportunity. We have the opportunity to be fully expressive in anything and everything that we need to. Right. This is the time that we need to be expressing ourselves to the fullest and to the maximum. And not only to the fullest and maximum in that way, right? We need to be expressing ourselves not only for our liberty, but for the future generations. Our time of standing behind the wall and just peeking around the corner is over. We're supposed to be out there in front now. We're out there in front now.
Trying, man.
Yeah, man. But anyhow, but the religious aspect there is not a thing to fear. It's not a thing to fear. We have our expression of our religions, right? We have our faiths, right? We have our ways of how we express it, and we should learn to embrace that. Yeah, we should learn to embrace that, right? If you want to go and follow the teaching of this one person, of as far as I'm concerned, he was a young. If they put it on base it upon that person of Christ of Christos, right? Then, as far as I'm concerned, he's just like any other young man out there, just like a Malcolm, just like a Marcus, right? Just like Tupac. He was there expressing himself, right? And he learned how to do some things so that he showed his abilities, and they got afraid of it.
Do you know what's really sad as well? I find it's really sad. We're in the age of information, basically. So information is out there. So when it comes to like the word Christ, Christos, Christmas, all these things, all them things, information's out there. Yeah, to the point it's even in film. I watched this series. Some of my guilty pleasures. I used to watch this thing called Vikings.
Yeah. I saw that.
And in Vikings, they touch on, because in Vikings, there's one part of Vikings, I think it's 1, 2, 3. I think this is season 3 or 4, one of them seasons, where the Viking culture come in contact with the next European culture, but they're like more so they're not. I think they're part of the Scandinavian, but not so much up where the Vikings are. Anyway, they've got a different. They bring their different beliefs, because the Viking believe in Norse and that. Odin and all them thing there, Thor and all that. And then this next set of people, they brought Christos and believed in Christmas and all these things, and they brought it into film, and I couldn't believe it. I thought they're so blatantly putting that information out there, and it's so sad, because only true I am a Pan-Africanist, or whatever you want to call it, whatever. I have a thirst for certain information, so I knew about that. So when that came up, I just thought, oh my gosh, look at these Christians going to church, and they don't know about this, because they don't really care about it.
No. They just go along and get along.
It will burst their bubble and that, so they don't bother with them things, that, even though it's truth and fact or whatever. And I'm thinking, oh, it's really in film. They're really pulling it in film for the people that know, but only if you know, innit? So when it comes in the thing, it's like raw. It's really, it's really out there. It is so out there. The information to that point, they're pulling it in film. You know what I mean? So you don't have to even be nerdy like that to find certain things. It's out there like that.
Listen, one of the beautiful things is that, because obviously, with the Galaxy family, we encourage you, no matter what you hear, what we say, go and do your own research, right? Go and do your own research, right?
To be honest,
and I would never,
Galaxy follower, so I don't even need that advice. You know that a true genuine. Let me rephrase that. Sorry. Some galaxy listeners don't even need that advice. Please believe me. But I appreciate love what you said. But
right.
you really don't need to show a man like that. But yeah, go on. Go on.
Right. Because I'm going to tell you now. I am willing to listen to any person with their view, because just like how we develop through life. As a child, we develop ourselves as a child, as a teenager, as a young adolescent, right? We go through that. And then as an adult, we go through that. And as we go into maturity, we go through another thing again. Yeah? Respect everything, because everything is for Eddie. Yeah? You understand? Things that are totally and absolutely wrong, right? And therefore, you might guide somebody through that or whatever. But their truth is their truth. Yeah? Very simple, my brother. I've got another caller on the line. Let me just bring this out. How you doing, my brother? The elder.
Yes, Reverend.
Desmond, how you doing, brother, man?
Rise up and peace and love. And
we got brother Sean. We got brother Sean on the line as well.
And brother Sean, Grand Rising.
Yeah, man.
Grand Rising.
Yes, I thought I'd ring in a bit earlier today, because every time I ring in, you say, you ring too late.
Not true.
Yes,
not true.
It's an important conversation you're having right now, because when our minds are, when the people's minds are so contaminated, they behave in, like, there's a movie I did watch once when this person contracted rabies. And them start acting a crazy way. So when the mind is infected, the behavior becomes suspect.
Oh shit!
And if you look at the history of the world in terms of power, power comes from controlling others. It doesn't matter how much money you have, and if you can't control other people, you haven't got any power. So the first thing that was done to control people was to create a god. See?
Yeah.
So when a man creates a god, and it was usually men, and get other people to believe in it, then that person has power.
Yeah.
Can I interject, Elder, please?
Yeah, forward.
What you just said, that statement, is a renowned statement that not just Pan-Africans know, people outside of Pan-Africans understand. Yeah, and what questions me, what gets me is a Christian, people in religion, all them people, not just Christians. I use Christians to burst them a lot, but people in religion, the rest of the black people, they either ignore that information or don't believe that information about power and control. And that tells me that how can I entertain a religious person? You know what I mean? If you don't understand that, if you cannot understand that, because this is basic power, control, religion, and how it is. Don't get me wrong, you can be religious, but I just understand it does have power. So I'm not saying for you to dispel the religion. Don't dispel your beliefs here, but just understand the basic of the power flex. You understand? But if you're religious, it comes like, if you're religious and you accept that means you're disrespecting your religion. If you admit that the power is, and to me that tells me I can't. If you cannot just accept basic things, then I can't trust you, man. I can't trust you.
No, well, I think you're going off on a tangent with respect there now, because the point I'm trying to get at here, you see, if A creates a god C and then get population E to believe in that god, then A has power over population E. So this is where I connect with Marcus Garvey and say, if you're going to worship a god, then worship one through your own eyes. Now, if you look around the world, you'll find that people are closely related to their gods, because your God should never be distant from you, because you created it. You see, God doesn't create man. Man creates God or gods. And the reason they do that is to instill fear in others, because particularly in times of difficulties or stress, people will look towards some kind of Superman. And if you can present the people with some kind of mystical superpower, then you control power. Now, if you look at, say, America or China or Russia today, their power is not mystical, it's scientific. So they've developed scientific power. So by controlling scientific power, they can control the world. And they do. Now, the problem comes when they have a disagreement. When the gods disagree with each other, then humans suffer. So when you have a conflict between the gods, because you could say nuclear power is the gods today, are the gods today. So those who control nuclear power control world power. Even little North Korea, who most of them people supposedly starving, can I let off big gun and I say, yes, we have it too. And nobody can really go invade them like how them invade some people.
We're supposed to have WMDs, you get me?
Yeah. But
they're supposed to have WMDs, but we're invading them.
Yeah, when we understand the concept of power, that power is about getting people to believe in your narrative. Unfortunately for the Pan-African movement, there isn't a narrative. So people don't have anything to believe in. People like Kwame Nkrumah, he presented a kind of a narrative that people could buy into. But then a greater force and fifth columnist ensured that he wasn't able to manifest that power. Marcus Garvey had a hint of that power, because people tend to underestimate the knowledge that Marcus Garvey possessed at the time, that he was a well-read man. And I think he left about 18,000, he took about 18,000 books to Jamaica on one time. So this was a man who was well-read and was well aware of what was going on in the world. Unfortunately, from my perspective, he was infected with Catholicism.
Yeah.
And he was a supporter of capitalism, because he criticized the Trinidadian oil workers when they went on strike. So he wasn't much of a socialist, as the Pan-African movement was initially, anyway.
Hold on. Just a moment, brother. Let me just interject there a little bit.
Yeah.
Each part of the steps of what Marcus Garvey laid out, right, was a reactionary action. Just a second.
Yes, I agree with that.
Was a reactionary situation,
he
right?
He was reacting to what was happening.
That's right. Yeah. So even for him to ascertain what was required and to have a political or social allegiance in that way, I feel that it would have been very difficult to bring to the people for the movement, because each side of the fence was oppressive to the black man, right?
Yeah, but this was global oppression. So, I mean, he was dealing with it from a sort of colonial, diaspora perspective. And don't get me wrong, I have a lot of regard for his courage, his vision, and it was the lack of support and the lack of what you call wider commitment of people, you see, because as I said, if you do not sell your narrative to the masses, then it's hard for you to maintain power. This is where propaganda is very useful. And his propaganda was limited because he didn't control the media, and the media tend to portray him in a negative way.
As they always did.
Yeah. So,
but Elder, as much as you said that, there is nobody that has, in my lifetime, he's still against that. He still managed to become international. When you think about the amount of the movement grew international, places like Australia, that is crazy. When you think about Marcus Garvey did that without internet, and them things there, television still, you get me? He still managed to reach over Dessa. That's like, to me, that's a mad thing. So Edgar Hoover, they're thinking, are you nuts? He can do that without that support?
Yeah. Well, I try not to get emotive about these things because I tend to look at the historical background. Now, you are the British Empire in existence. And think of Paul of Tarsus. He was able to spread Christianity because of the Roman Empire. Because the Roman built connection. They had roads, they had sail and so forth. So he used the infrastructure that was set up by the Imperial Roman army. So it's the same way Marcus Garvey was able to use the British Empire communication system, ships and so forth, to get his magazine about. So he used the mechanism that was there. This is how we're using internet and telephone and things like that today. But that exposed the weakness, because if you remember when he bought the Black Star Liner fleet, he couldn't even find a black man to sail one of them. So we're limited in terms of the old people would say you can't stand pan cow back and cut cow skin. And this is where colonialism or neo-colonialism is the biggest threat to black people, because what it has done is to recruit people that look like us to control us. So once our leaders are bought into the dominant system as it is today, which is capitalism, once they're bought into that, they're no longer connected with their people. Because they have more in common with capitalists in New York or London or Zurich than they have with the people in their own capital. This is why you find since the 80s, the IMF and the World Bank have promoted this thing they call structural readjustment. And that was to impose post-colonialist policy on Africa and the Caribbean and South America, in other words, the developing countries, so that they had to buy into it to maintain the power of what you'd call NATO, the white countries. So now you find, like in a place like Jamaica, people are borrowing money from the IMF and World Bank to pay the interest on debt that they hold. And yet those money that was borrowed never benefited the people. But yet the people have to repay those debts. So that is the God that we're dealing with now, the God of capitalism. And we haven't got an answer to it.
Well, hold on, wait a minute now. Obviously we have been left and sidelined out of the beneficiaries of spearheading a lot of the world's major financial gains, right? But it does not mean that is the only way of how we nurture and build ourselves. One of our biggest assets is that we have a unification of us as being people. Unfortunately, we are not utilizing that. We're not utilizing it to the extent of that one will do for the other, right? To do a comparison with other races, no matter who or what those other races are displaying and how they work together, they are working together. Some of them are even in a worse, destitute situation than some of us black people.
Yes, Brother Aston, but then you see,
allow me to finish. Allow me to finish. Allow me to finish. Allow me to finish.
Oh, sorry.
Right?
Yeah, come forward.
One of the things that where I feel that we have missed out on, right? Generationally, right? We have not set in place foundations of achievements, educational wise, right? Personal status, right? And even to say that, okay, if you don't want us part of your system, we'll go ahead and we'll build our own, right? We should have drawn away from these um, basic parasites a very, very long time. And if it took a war to do that, so be it. So be it, right? But the fact is that we have not taken that advantage. And to the extent of now that they are targeting us, right? Blatantly targeting us and trying to wipe us out, blatantly, just so. They're just killing us off right in front of our eyes. And yet we still are not doing anything. We're still not doing anything. We're not taking any actions. Huh? We're not taking any actions.
Can I just...
Yeah, go ahead.
Not to be contradictory in any way, but just to sort of clarify a few points. You see, when I talk of a God narrative, it's what I mean. It's a dominant narrative. Now, if you take, for example, sometimes people look at the experience of China or even India. You see, they have an alternative narrative. We as African people, the impact of post-colonialism is that we are bought into other people's narrative. And when you say we have a unity, see, it is difficult for me to see where that unity stems from, because it doesn't stem from language, it doesn't stem from religion, and it doesn't stem from economic control of the means of production. In other words, we don't control our own resources, because most of Africa and the Caribbean is owned by capitalist multinational corporations. And when you talk of war, the war is one of civil. It's Africans against Africans, because the leaders have distanced themselves from the needs of the people and have colluded with multinationals to fleece their own countries.
Well, there you go.
Therefore, like what China went through, they went through a civil strife, and you could see the remnant of that is still hanging on with Chiang Kai-shek descendant in Taiwan. But because they're on an island, they're not such a threat to China. And yet America is still using them as a way of niggling China. But China was able to have their civil purge, where millions died. And from that, they've been able to consolidate a one story, a one party. The same thing is happening in India. They're using their religion, or they've always used their religion, to unify themselves and constructed the Muslim as the enemy within. Now, it's difficult to see Africans particularly identifying the enemy within. Because those who should be identifying the enemy within is part of the traitor class. You see, when Kwame Nkrumah tried to show the people a way forward, the enemy within, many of them were trained by CIA and MI6 to topple him. Now, when Gaddafi was trying to show a way forward, they snuffle him. So it is difficult to see where that unification is coming from. I mean, Africa has a young population, and that is good. But there are certain wars going on. So when you say if it takes a war, the war is already ongoing. But it's been done at the economic level, at the scientific level, that people are dying of hunger, of diseases that they supposedly have no cure for. But yet it's only African dying from it. Such things like earlier on, I was listening to a program on the virus of how AIDS was targeted at Africans. So we're in a struggle that we need a God, but we'll have to construct that God ourselves. We don't want no God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Ghost, because that's a Roman God. We need a new God. And I don't know what it's going to be, whether it's voodoo, hobia. But then we need a God that can deliver us from certain things. In other words, pull our diverse resources together, something that we all can believe in. And right now, it's difficult because so many people in the West, black people particularly, have a full stomach. Right. And it's difficult to motivate people when they have a full stomach.
One of the things. I know that you've mentioned God and this aspect of God, right? Now please remember that when these anthropologists and explorers came to the African continent, in their reports and in many of their literatures, they associated the forms of deities that the Africans were using, right, as symbols of characteristics of the spirits or the spiritual from within, right? They associated them as gods, of which they weren't. They were just representatives of the different forms of characteristics, right? This is why we are able to communicate with our animals, right? And be more connected with our nature as a living, active type of communication and way of life, more so than what these white people have been able to, or the Europeans have been able to. Right?
Well, the European eat them, innit?
Well, that's it. That's it. No, but it's true. It's true. Yeah, because we live in harmony.
Food, so they had to eat them.
Right? We have been able to live in harmony with nature way before these Europeans come and contaminate the water, contaminate and destroy most of nature with its acts of so-called development.
Yeah, but that's, brother Aston, that's when we had our own gods.
That's right. That's right.
This is what I'm saying. We've lost our gods now.
This
whole idea of post-colonialism, they've infected us with their alien system or their inhumane system, which put profit before people. Don't forget, this is why they trafficked and kidnap and traffic us and enslave us, because they reduce human beings to the level of animals so they could exploit us for the benefit of money.
Well, listen, they utilize whatever they needed to utilize in whatever way they wanted to do that, right? And that is what served them. What serves us is to liberate ourselves from that mentality. And even now, some of us are still within that mentality, right, of taking on the doctrines and the teachings of the oppressor, right? And not being able to free ourselves, not even willing to want to free ourselves, right?
Yeah, but this is where I was making the point that when a person has a full stomach, it's hard to motivate them.
Well,
if you look back into the 60s and even the 70s, and up to the 80s, when black people in this country, for example, was under a lot of racial pressure, we had more solidarity between us.
Yeah.
Because we weren't welcome in the discotheque, so we had the blues.
That's right.
And through the blues, we were able to communicate in our own way, so that when they had the uprising in 85, the police was caught off guard because they never knew what was happening. No, what they did was to retaliate by bringing in so-called yardies and infiltrate our community, and then they knew what we were doing. Nowadays, now them even have Rasta man in a navy and all that, and say, yeah, you can come with your dreadlocks. When in nowadays, if you had a dreadlocks, you couldn't even go into some black club. So they've infiltrated us so that we're no longer separate. We become one in terms of capitalism. So capitalism now, we all have a vested interest in it because we all want a little bit more. But a little bit more is coming from someone else. And they conceal where that is coming from. They call it trade, invisible trade they used to call it one time. They call it the market. They call it venture capitalists. But this is what is raping Africa.
Well, this is the thing that we have to re-establish. And very few things I say to re-establish, right? Some of us have never even been awakened to it. Some of us have never been awakened to it. And when they do, they are all of a sudden afraid, like they're standing on a high cliff point, and they said, "Oh, you are able to dive off into the sea." And some people are even afraid to even go to the edge to stand there, let alone to dive off. Right?
Because they have too much to lose. Don't forget, them have their house, them nice car, them money in the bank, and all that. They're shielded.
This is just the thing. This is just the thing. But then again, you know something? At least they have been shown what they can do. They can do. Right?
There must always be hope.
Exactly. I'll just bring in Brother Sean once again, right? Before we go into our midday meditation. Yeah. I see that you step out for a little while, my brother.
Yep. You know, oh my gosh, it's really interesting, yeah. You know, again, the basics. So, like, we was talking about how the war against things like education and the IMF and all that, and then these are basic conversations that we have within the Pan-Africanists, yeah. And in religious, I'm not really sure, to be honest. I'm not sure if these conversations are having, because it's not obvious that they have these conversations. And to me, that says the conversations that we're having, we're trying to progress our people. And in these religious places, they're not having progressive conversation for the people, because it's not getting you to heaven. Because their ultimate is heaven. Heaven. You've got the Muslims that want to get to heaven, Christians want to get to heaven. That's their objective, heaven. From my blinkered view interpretation. I've stressed that.
I get the impression, right, that most of these religious, and this is only my impression, that most of these religious places, like the big churches, the super churches and things like this, all they're interested in is financial contribution.
Capitalism.
Yeah?
Yes.
Right? Because I know say that, why? If I have a place like that, everybody's eating out of that. As much as you're putting in, right? You're supposed to be getting out of that. You understand?
Brother Aston, I tell my mother, if I want to be rich, mother, I open up a church. I don't want to be rich. If I want to open up a church, and listen, I could hold the pulpit and pull up enough people's head top if I wanted to. I can do all that, but that's not my interest. You understand? When I was a little boy and I used to go to church, they used to tell me about, I'll be a good preacher because I could chat whatever. But again, going back to
speaking of tongues as well.
Oh my! Do you know, Elder? Oh my days, Elder! Please don't get me started. Do you know what I said to my mother? Do you know what I said? Please don't get me started don't get me started with that. Because anyway, let's go back.
Yeah.
Like, when it comes to the basics and the progressive of black people, there's a lot of conversations that are going back to what I said about their objective is heaven. Heaven. So that's their focus on that. Cool. Certain people want me to unite with certain people, Christians, yeah? And I appreciate that because unite is strength in numbers. I understand that. But I have no faith in that happening, so I don't waste my time in that. You understand what I'm saying? So I know that their objective is heaven. I'm not going heaven. That's not my objective. So go about your business. I'm going about mine. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not focused on the... I'd love it to happen. I'd want it to happen, but I know it's not going to happen, so I don't really entertain that. I don't entertain them things there because I know their objective. That they got their goal. They got their sight. You know, the red beam, the dot. They're focused. They're laser beam focused. I overstand that to the maximum, so I don't bother with them. I'm on my own thing. You understand what I'm saying? I understand and understand how it is affecting my people as such. Yeah, but. If you get back to the capacity of your building pyramids, they're obsolete. If you get back to that capacity of, when I mean the capacity, I mean, i.e. the knowledge, the pre-colonial thing, before you even knew they even existed. You get me? Before you even knew that they even existed. Some people probably getting where I'm coming from, believe you me, but you don't even need to entertain that. The unity thing. Even mad. Do you know how powerful you are if you get back to the capacity? You know what I mean? So my point, the only point I'm raising is, i.e., you know what I mean? I'm just not focused I'm just focused. There's a lot of distractions, and I truly believe certain things like religion is a distraction, to be honest. So I just not even bother with that. I don't even bother with them.
All right then. Right.
You kind of to pick you up on the point there.
Hold on. You know, you're moving into my next section now. Come on, guys.
All right.
Sorry.
All right.
It's a meditation time.
Yeah, man. You know that.
Man. So more peace and more love.
Meditate. I need this. I need that meditation. I need that. Bless up.
All right then. Bless up.
While I do my work.
Yes.
And I appreciate you both coming on this morning, and we was
able.
We
have to come and dig up your brother.
Before you go, right? There is something that I wanted to share with everybody, right? Because obviously I go through my teachings and preparing myself personally, right? And through this program, I'm able to express that as well. The teachings of today, right, or this time, is very much in line with what we was talking about. And he's talking about in the faculty of Tahuti, right? Now, Tahuti is talking about your connection with God, right? And proving his existence and not. Yeah? And then what you have to do is to go through how you actually see and perceive God, right, for yourself, and have that connection with the God within yourself. Now, without me announcing that, look what happened. You both come and we both discuss that thing there, sir. Yeah?
More voodoo, man. More voodoo.
Yes.
Give thanks to the ancestor, because when you listen to the ancestral voice, it will manifest. Because when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
There you go. Right?
More love, brethren.
So with that, I thank you both. I thank you both for bringing that manifestation right there forward for me right there. So,
Yes.
I'm happy.
Until the next time.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
What's up, man?
We don't say goodbye. We say till the next time.
Yeah, man.
Till the next time. Till the next time. Look at war.
Bless up, man. Bless up. Look at that. Look at that. That's the powers. That's the powers that we actually do possess within ourselves. Manifestation straight in action, Nessa. And that's a true thing. It's a true thing. Put your thoughts into actions, and your actions will come into power and into life. I can't believe this. Anyway, let's move to the next section. This is our midday meditation here on the Galaxy of We.net on the Blacknificent Show. As we do on a regular basis, we come and do our meditation. The meditation is a time that we take the journey for us to go within, to have that time to do our check-in with ourselves, our mind, our body, our inner spirit, right? To have that beautiful conversation, to have that open relationship with our inner selves, to be comfortable, to ask and answer the questions that are always coming up in ourselves, and to ensure that we address them. Right? So without further ado, let's go ahead and do our midday meditation. And as we always do, we start with the power of our breath. Our breath is a breath.
Oh, Jordan, need some help. See how them say themselves. Oh, Lord, I don't know why. Can you hold it out? Can you do without? Can you walk the thin line? And can you keep your mouth? Or when they try put out the brightness of your light? I keep one eye shut every time I pray, cause there will come a day what them don't expect. Why give them a surprise when you face some of them and say how much you need, how much you need. You see them broke off them neck now, yeah. It's hard to conceive or even believe. Them must I think you forget now, yeah. The gullible believers, them follow pill and don't check now, yeah. For what them did a hope in a joke, this time going be for them dead now, well. There are simple things in life. Every man has got to survive. Should be cared for every child, and to the rumors running wild. But just wait until your burden's plenty. That's the time that you will see how much you need. Hey, how much you need. You see the back of them neck now, yeah. It's hard to believe or even conceive. They must think you forget now, well. They're gullible believers, them follow pill and don't check now, yeah. What them did a hope in a joke, this time going be them dead now, well. Like these bones under my skin, that's so close to Jah I cling. They not try but they can't win, but Jah blessings keep coming in. Jah will never give a man more than he can bear, and when I call he will always hear how much I need, how much I need. And I know disrespect now, yeah. It's hard to believe or even conceive. They must have think Jah forget now, well. They're gullible believers, them swallow pill and don't check now, yeah. What them did a hope in a joke, this time going be them dead now, yeah. How much you need, how much you need. You see them broke off them neck now, yeah. It's hard to conceive or even believe. They must have think you forget now, yeah. Can you hold it out? Can you do without? Can you walk the thin line? Can you keep your mouth out when them try put out the brightness of your light? I keep one eye shut every time I pray, for there will come a day what them don't expect. Why give them a surprise when you face some of them and say how much you need. Them still hungry, yeah. How much you need, how much you need. You see them broke off them neck now, yeah. It's hard to conceive or even believe. They must have think you forget now, well. They're gullible believers, them swallow pill and don't check now, yeah.